This election was a fraud. It was a rigged election.
You heard the claims time and time again, but there is no evidence there was fraud in the 2020 election. Now the 8 News Now I-team with a report detailing election security right here in Clark County.
And we're also hearing from the man in charge. And in fact, this is a topic the I-team's David Sharns has stayed on top of for years now. So David, what'd you find out?
Can you imagine the election was 2 years ago at this point? We're still talking about it. And this independent audit found no issues with how we vote by mail. It's a process that, without any evidence, faced widespread scrutiny. Tonight, the man in charge of elections right here in our valley says he's proud of his team's work, and they are preparing for what's coming this November. What makes you come through these doors every day?
There's a lot of satisfaction in knowing that you're serving democracy.
It's an important job in an American tradition. As Registrar of Voters, Joe Gloria runs elections here in Clark County. It's a job he's held since 2013.
Nevada and Clark County have created this crisis.
But nothing prepared him for what he would face in 2020.
The challenges were tremendous without dealing with what we had to deal with in the general election, with the questioning of the integrity of what we do.
Nearly 2 years later, several lawsuits and a Secretary of State review found no widespread fraud. This audit, obtained by the 8 News Now I-team, addressing mail-in ballots, finding no issues with the Clark County processes, including how ballots are printed, mailed, returned, and counted.
I think we're very excited that an independent agency took a look at what we did, showed clearly that we did due diligence from the start.
So what was going through your mind when people were saying the machines weren't working, the ballots were tampered with, the votes were changed?
We did receive some language that was concerning. I think mainly what I like to focus on is the fact that my staff that came in here was having to deal with coming to work and seeing 100 protesters outside, and some of them are armed.
Gloria says the keys to ward off misinformation are facts and transparency, and he's preparing for an onslaught of fraud allegations ahead of this November.
Well, they're not surprises anymore, so we know what's coming.
And so far, prosecutors have charged just one person with voter fraud here in Nevada from the 2020 election. And as we have reported, that person first said somebody mailed in his deceased wife's ballot, and then he fessed up that it was him all along. Denise.
I remember that report. All right, David, thank you. The mail-in voting law state lawmakers passed last year allows you to opt out of receiving a mail-in ballot if you don't want one. Now, you do have until September 9th to do that, and that's just a couple of weeks away. And if you don't opt out and you want to vote in person, you can still show up to your polling place. That's no problem.